And then we'll do the other guy. That keeps a lot of stuff for the back end for two. We can be jam-packed. Hey, welcome to our Wednesday edition of the show here on ESPN 680. Bob Valvano with you. Thank you for spending some of your Wednesday with us, no matter where you are and how you're listening to us, whether it's locally here on ESPN 680 or at ESPNLoville.com, or now we're part of the ESPN radio app, right? And that's so cool. We're in there with all the big boys. We're just digging our heels and taking a place. That's my phone. I forgot to turn it down before we came on the air. I will do that now. There's a couple things, a whole bunch of things to get to. Some local, some national. I want to get to a lot of things. I want to start with last night. Went to the Bats game last night, and I want to apologize for misspeaking. I said that that there's some great fans here. They come out in great numbers, and I think they would support an NBA team or an NHL team or a Major League Soccer team because they are very good. It's a very good supportive community, although I can't say that I thought a lot of people who go to the game really, know what's going on. I don't mean to be rude, but I mean, the minor league experience is kind of like a destination to go and enjoy the merry-go-round and eat food and stuff like that. Well, it's no secret this is one of the worst years the Bats have had in their history. They're just not a competitive team at the AAA level. And yet I am wrong, and pleasantly wrong. I was at the game last night, and I'm amazed at how into the game the crowd is. I mean, yeah, there's how many people, but probably no less a percentage that goes to Major League games. I mean, I went to games in New York with people that would say they got tickets from their company and went, and they don't know, Andy Pettit from Eddie Roddick. They just know that the game is going on. It's a cool thing to do. The game last night, this is a Bats team that's playing for nothing, basically. They're well out of it. They're 30 games under 500. They're playing a Columbus team that's fighting for a playoff spot. And the fans I'm so amazed that they're so dialed into it. Louisville was down 5-0, scored 7 straight runs, and they know guys coming up. They got their favorites. Corky Miller, who's a crowd favorite, of course, the Corkster with the big Fu Manchu. And I'm struck with how I've been to enough minor league baseball games around the country. It's a hobby of mine. I literally maybe 24 different parks in 24 different cities. You can tell when people know a little about baseball by the ebb and flow of the crowd based on things like pitch count, like the count on the batter. They sense this is an advantageous count for the hitter, and there's a good hitter up, and there's a sense of excitement. When you're places that don't know anything about the game, they know a 1-2 count is no different to them to a 3-1 count, and they're not dialed into what's going on. And this is not a team that was playing for anything last night. It was just a Tuesday game, playing out the string. If anything, I may have undersold, and I've always said this is a terrific sports town, but we talked about this on the show yesterday with Fred Calgill. We were talking about would they support an NBA team, the discussion about the arena, the necessity to possibly think about a professional team going in there, and I said, he's kind of, we say a lot of things by knee-jerk reaction, and I like to try not to do that, and I feel like in this case I may have done the same thing and may have not made my argument as emphatically as I should have. What I mean is, I've said that they could support a team here, and they would support some things outside the box. They brought the National Hockey League to Raleigh, North Carolina, and people went crazy. And they didn't know anything about hockey down there. But they embraced it. They sold it out. So I was using the example of Major League Soccer, and soccer. Ask Jason and our owners in Kansas City. With the Kansas City team, my God, last year they were in the playoffs. They were huge. They had the whole front page of the sports page. The whole page stories. The stadium was sold out. The place was packed. They were going nuts. In Seattle, it's an event. Go look it up. But just because we don't do it here doesn't mean it's not doable here. That's my point. And so why I say that last night is because I've said they would show up. I don't know how much they would know about what was going on, but I thought it might be an extended minor league experience for people. I don't think that's true. I think that there are, even some people around here, I think, perpetuate that myth that, it's all about just U of L basketball, UK basketball, U of L football, UK football. All I know is every time we say that, and then take a look at when Louisville plays baseball in their stadium, they got to put more seats in there because there's so many people that have been coming in there that they need more seating. I've been to a bunch of games there where the atmosphere is terrific. Go watch the volleyball. You been to a Louisville volleyball match? I mean, the place is packed with people who know what's going on, that are aficionados of the game. They're not there. I mean, sure, every experience is people going for a day out. I understand that. And that's true at the big league level. That's true going to watch the Yankees play or going to watch the Cardinals play. But the fact of the matter is, you can only subsidize, you can only support a product, a sport, if the people who really appreciate the game show up with a passion. And I've contended that there's enough people who like events here that we would support it and eventually maybe learn about some of the sports. But I think I shortchanged the sports fan here, because 90% of the noise on sports radio is made by, the people that are dialed into just football and basketball, and that's okay. It is still mainstream. It's still the king daddy. It's still the 600-pound gorilla in the room. I'm not arguing that, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be. But, my God, I mean, how much evidence do you need that the people around here know sports? They love sports. They're good sports fans. I mean, volleyball matches for Louisville. Look at Louisville's women's basketball. You could say, well, that's basketball. Well, there's a lot of places where basketball's huge. They don't go watch the women's team play. Louisville's women's team is putting people in huge numbers in the center. The volleyball matches, have you ever been to one? Don't talk about things you don't know about. Go to them and then offer up a discussion. Since I love sports so much, I've gone to those things. I've been to a U of L soccer match. They went to the national championship game. Ken Lola's got crazy momentum going there. I mean, again, you don't think if Beckham came to town, that people pay attention? There's not a lot of stars that people know in MLS. I'm a soccer fan, but they would pay attention the same way they do in Kansas City. And again, I'm not advocating soccer. I'm just using it as an overview that while I've said the people here support sports and they like to go out and they would support professional teams, I don't think I made the case as compelling enough, because it goes beyond just they'd go for a day out. I think people here do love football. They do love basketball. But they love the other stuff too. Not everybody, but people who love, it's like everybody loves football and basketball, and then there's a segment that loves baseball, and there's a segment that loves volleyball, and there's a segment that loves, Bellarmine's got a Division I lacrosse team. There's a whole bunch of sporting momentum in this city that really has no outlet other than football and basketball. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel about it. I mean, the Bats are, look, they're awful. I mean, they're my friends. I love all those guys, but they're a bad team. They had 11,000 people there on Sunday. I mean, come on. 11,000 people for a team that's 30 games under 500. I just think that I've shortchanged the population here a little bit. I think that there's a lot of momentum. Look at the support Bellarmine's getting. I know you can say, well, that's basketball. But my point is, every time somebody gives me a yeah, but, I say, well, how many yeah, buts do you need before you realize that, yes, we love football and basketball, but we support other things as well? Look at the golf events in town here. I mean, I don't know. It still irks me. It really does, that this is still looked at as a minor league city across the country. It bothers me because it shouldn't. And I know Fred talks about it's just a marginal top 50 TV market, but, Oklahoma City is, and they're doing fine, and we're not that much smaller. And I still, when I'm old enough to remember, when I was a kid, when the Colonels played the Pacers, what was the difference between Indianapolis and Louisville? Really? What was the difference? They had the Indy 500. We had the Derby. They didn't have any professional sports. We had no professional sports. They get the Pacers. We get the Colonels. They both are great franchises in that league. They both win championships. They both have Hall of Fame players. The leagues merge. What happens? Colonels go away. Louisville's never heard from again. Indiana gets the Pacers. They get the Super Bowl. They get the Colts. They get the NCAA. I mean, Nashville gets the Predators. They get the Titans. Why? It just strikes. We lost the tennis event that came through town here. That goes to Cincinnati now. I'm sorry. I don't get it. I mean, if somebody could explain to me a rational reason why, then I'd shut up, but I don't get it. I really don't. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know if the issue here is whether people here love sports, because I think that is shown through all of the things that you've laid out. I think that's shown with the minor league team. It's shown with basketball and football for Louisville, but it's shown in the smaller sports, the volleyballs, the soccers, look at the baseball, how much support they get. And I agree with that. I think it's all of the other things. It's all the big boy things. It's all the money. It's all the sponsors. It's nobody has still laid a foundation on where this NBA team would play if they came here. And don't give me the Yum Center because it does not meet modifications for an NBA arena. So you're talking about putting millions of dollars in an arena. We know the Yum Center, the chance of that happening is slim to none. Actually, it's none. So, I mean, you look at it, we're sports fans. People listening to us are sports fans. That's why they're listening. I don't think that's the issue. I don't think the base and the love for sport is the issue. I think it's everything else. Does that kind of make sense?
Well, it's a corollary to what Fred said yesterday. You're making the same argument he did, that it takes somebody who's a visionary, who's just a bulldog about wanting to make this happen. And, we haven't had that. It's one of many agendas that people have, and I understand that. I mean, the mayor's got other things on his plate besides this. The civic leaders have other things on their plate. Business people in town have other things on their plate. I just, it strikes me as.
Let me ask you this: what do you think the person who's lived here? How long have you lived here? You probably lived
17 years.
Okay, so I'm close to you. I'm getting close to 14, 15. What we've lived here long enough to answer this question. But what do you think the perception of the individual who grew up here, who went to school, Central High School or Ballard High School, and then still lives here with their family? What's their perception of Louisville as a sporting
You know what I
town?
think it is?
Because
and I mean this with affection. You can give your answer, but you asked it, I'll answer it, and then you can tell me what you think. I think the people who live here feel about this city like Cubs fans feel about their team. They absolutely love them. They're passionate about them, and they expect them to not be as good as other teams. They expect them to be not as good as the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and everybody else. And they smile about it. They love them. They're proud of them, but they don't think that they will take their place with the other great teams. And that's how Louisville feels about themselves as a city. They feel that they are a second-tier city. They love it. They think it's a great place to live. They think there's great people here, but they don't think that
it's
Major
Nashville.
League Sports should come here because they don't think they're a national city, and I don't understand that. I really don't.
I agree.
It's not
with
just
you.
sports.
Sure, I agree.
This is the first place I lived. When I came to town, literally, I was dumbfounded that all that land along the river in Louisville was just sitting there. It was the only place I've ever lived where there was waterfront land where people weren't falling all over themselves. I mean, you'd get a guy who'd have a lot the size of a postage stamp, and he'd sell it as, my waterfront, restaurant bistro. I mean, he had like 4 tables, but they couldn't wait. I get here and there's nothing there was nothing there at that time. There wasn't the park. There wasn't the waterfront park. There wasn't Joe's Crab Shack. There wasn't anything along the water there. The baseball stadium was not there. It was kind of looked on as like an eyesore. I never lived in a place where I lived in Maryland. They took the Inner Harbor in Baltimore and turned that rat trap into a gorgeous, wonderful, thriving. The Orioles play there. Became a real thriving downtown. I went to school in Virginia Beach. They did that. The same people who built the Inner Harbor in Baltimore built that complex on the river in Norfolk, and they built a minor league stadium. They embraced the river there for a short time in Connecticut. All the businesses are on the river in Connecticut, and there's this big, beautiful Ohio River there, and there's nothing. And now it's come around a bit, but I mean, it was just we're always we just kind of resign ourselves to the fact that we'll never be progressive, and I don't completely understand that when there's so many things this place offers. I mean, I didn't realize when Fred said that this is one of the 10 biggest cities in the country at the turn of the century. I didn't know Louisville was that.
I didn't know that
big.
either.
So I don't know.
I think that's
what were you going to say?
No, I think. I mean, what you said, I think, is a perfect. You talk about the Cubs. I think it's a kind of a good parallel. I think the thought is that pro sports are nice, but they're not nice in Louisville. I think that is, that is the. Maybe it's the old guard saying that, and I don't mean by older citizens. Maybe by that, but maybe it's the old way of thinking that these things aren't vital to the success of a city. Whereas I think they are.
I agree with
and
you.
I definitely think they are. I mean, look at, for instance, Nick does the Bellarmine games, and my girlfriend went to Bellarmine. And she said they sent, all these things out, how the freshman class, since she finished college, from her freshman class to now, has pretty much more than doubled. Do you think the sporting teams have nothing to do? Do you think the basketball team has nothing to do with something like that. So,
absolutely.
For us, we're sports people, but I just wonder what the average person who's lived here for 25 plus years, maybe has, grew up here, raised a family here, what they think about it. Because for me and you, it's easy, but I just don't know what the other people think. I don't know how much support it really has.
Well, you know what? I'm going to come back and give you an idea of why I think it's habit. That's what it is. I think you develop a habit. You think of yourself a way, and it becomes second nature. And I'll give you a perfect example when we come back here. This is ESPN 680.